Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the topics you care about, combine them with incredible research, and really deliver the knowledge you need without all the information overload.
Hmm.
Now, when we talk about pets, dogs, cats, guinea pigs, maybe even a gecko, most people, they jump straight to the emotional side.
The comfort, the companionship.
Exactly, that immediate comfort of a purr or, the crazy welcome when you walk in the door, that wagging tail,
Mhm.
that sense of loyalty.
Yeah, that bond's undeniable for sure.
It really is. But today, we're actually going to pivot a bit. We want to move past just the feel-good stories, the anecdotes, and really dive into the science, the practical, measurable facts about why having an animal in your life can be so profoundly good for you.
Right.
You provided us with this fantastic stack of sources, really dense, all about pet ownership. So our mission today is kind of extract the knowledge that explains how pets actually change our health metrics for the better.
And also, crucially, what we owe them in return, to make
Mhm.
that relationship responsible, sustainable.
Exactly. Because it's not just a one-way street.
And we need that context because, this isn't some niche hobby anymore. The sheer scale of pet ownership is it's staggering.
It really is. What were the numbers?
We're talking something like 12 million households in Great Britain, and in the US, it's 66% of households. That's huge.
66%. Wow.
Yeah. And for most of these people, these animals aren't just pets, they're family members. So the big question is, what specific measurable benefits are all these people actually getting beyond, just the companionship?
Right. That's exactly what we need to unpack. So let's jump right in. Section 1. The hardcore biophysiological case for having a pet. Because, if a pet only lowered your stress, that'd be great.
Yeah, helpful enough.
But the data seems to show they're actually more like fundamental protectors of our health, our lives even.
Okay, so if we're starting with measurable impact, we really have to start with the heart, right? Cardiovascular health. And what's fascinating here, it's not just about feeling better mentally. It seems like pet ownership might physically protect the heart, even extend how long we live.
I think this is one of the most, powerful statistics in the whole stack of sources we looked at. Studies consistently show it. Pet owners, they just have a lower risk of death from all natural causes.
Right, compared to people without pets.
And that protective effect. It's especially strong when researchers zero in on data specifically about heart disease.
That's absolutely critical. But, the natural question pops up, is this just correlation? Like, are healthier, maybe happier people just more likely to get pets in the first place?
Right, the chicken or the egg problem.
Exactly. Or is the pet actually causing the benefit? And our sources dig into this. They look at specific metrics that researchers can control for, and when they look at those key markers for heart disease risk, pet owners consistently score better.
Okay, so what are those key markers? You mentioned 3 critical ones.
Yeah, the big 3 are lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, and lower triglyceride levels.
Right, and those directly impact heart disease risk.
Correct. And maybe let's quickly define those just so everyone's on the same page, because they're huge factors in cardiac risk. Blood pressure, that's the force of your blood pushing against artery walls.
Okay.
Cholesterol, it's this waxy stuff we actually need, but too much of it, well, it clogs up the arteries.
Got it.
And triglycerides, those are specific fats, lipids in your blood. High levels are a big warning sign for heart trouble. So seeing all 3 of those tend to be lower or stay lower in pet owners, that's a really measurable benefit.
It really is.
It suggests that the routine, maybe the constant sort of low-level stimulation, the stress reduction that pets provide, it acts almost like a preventative health plan.
So it's not just that healthier people get pets.
It seems the pets themselves actually encourage, maybe even enforce healthier behavior.
Which flows perfectly into the next point, right? How this stress reduction actually works.
Yeah.
On a molecular level, it's not just feeling calm, it's hormones changing.
Exactly. This is where you see that immediate quantifiable effect of just interacting with them. So our bodies have this built-in stress system, right? Driven mostly by the hormone cortisol.
The bad guy hormone.
Well, yeah, chronic high cortisol is pretty bad news for health. It's linked to inflammation, weight gain, puts a strain on your cardiovascular system.
But the sources say that just, 15 minutes? Spending just 15 minutes petting your dog or cat? Like a really brief, focused interaction.
Yeah, just that little bit of time.
It can trigger this massive counter-reaction. You get this release of the feel-good hormones. Oxytocin, that's the bonding one, right?
Right, often released during positive social interactions. Then there's prolactin, and serotonin, our natural mood stabilizer.
It's like hitting a chemical reset button.
Pretty much. That hormonal flood actively dials down the cortisol. It puts the brakes on that whole stress response.
And that's why the sources can point to actual physical results almost immediately. Like that simple act can literally send your body into a relaxed state. It will lower your blood pressure by about 10%.
Yeah, around that figure, it's quite immediate.
And what I like about this is it's accessible, right? You don't necessarily need the huge commitment of, say, a big dog for this specific benefit. The sources even mention just like watching fish.
Watching fish swim around in a tank, if it's well maintained, of course.
That simple low-intensity thing can make worries just kind of melt away. That rhythmic movement, it's predictable. It can anchor your brain.
It really can.
So, okay, 15 minutes of petting drops your blood pressure 10%. That's remarkable for an immediate fix. But the really big health benefits, they seem tied more to the long-term stuff, right? The behavioral changes.
Definitely.
Which brings us neatly to the activity advantage. The quantifiable exercise benefit, especially with dogs.
Oh, yeah. A dog truly might be the best personal trainer you could ever ask for.
Because they don't let you skip leg day.
Something like that. I mean, unlike a gym membership you might conveniently forget about.
Guilty.
A dog's health depends on those daily walks. They're this living, breathing, furry alarm clock that forces you out the door, rain or shine, whether you feel like it or not.
And the numbers back this up, right? When you look at the actual exercise data, the difference is pretty stark. Dog owners spend, twice as much time walking for leisure each week.
Yeah, compared to people without dogs, one study actually put a number on it, about 180 minutes of walking per week.
180 minutes.
And that figure, 180 minutes, it's so important because it doesn't just meet the minimum recommendations, it actually surpasses them.
What's the recommendation again? The CDC one?
The CDC benchmark recommends 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week for adults.
Okay.
So just by consistently meeting your dog's basic needs, you're automatically exceeding the human health guidelines. You're building this strong, consistent exercise habit. And that, over the long term, helps keep those blood pressure and cholesterol numbers looking good.
And there's that extra bonus too, right? All that time outside.
Absolutely, a nice compounding benefit. More outdoor time means a regular dose of vitamin D from sunlight.
Which is important, especially in, certain climates or seasons.
Definitely. Low vitamin D is linked to higher risks of infection, other illnesses, even brittle bones. So it's like this involuntary natural supplement you're getting.
An accidental health boost just by walking the dog? Love it.
Now, okay, let's shift gears a bit to some really surprising medical benefits. These are less about exercise, more about just fundamental interactions with the pets themselves, starting with the immune system.
Right. You're talking about the fact that pets, they bring germs and dirt into the house, which logically, we're obsessed with cleanliness, so that sounds bad.
Yeah.
But scientifically, maybe not.
Exactly. This ties into something often called the hygiene hypothesis.
Yeah.
The idea is that exposure to a wider variety of microbes, a bit of dirt, pet dander, especially early in childhood, might actually help train the immune system.
Train it how?
To learn the difference between genuinely harmful invaders and just harmless stuff in the environment. This extra exposure might improve overall immunity, make us more resilient to common colds, mild illnesses.
And there are studies on this.
Yeah, studies have shown that babies living with a dog tend to get fewer infections, use fewer antibiotics compared to babies in pet-free homes.
Wow. Okay. And this leads us straight into the allergy topic, which is always complicated.
Very complicated.
The evidence suggests that early exposure, like with the dander, might help prevent a child from developing allergies later on. But crucially, if you already have an allergy, getting a pet won't magically cure it.
That distinction is absolutely critical. We're talking about a potential preventative mechanism here. Exposure early in life may help stop allergies from developing. But if you're an adult or a child who's already diagnosed with a severe pet allergy, owning that type of pet is only going to make things worse.
So it's about programming the immune system right during development, not reversing something that's already established.
Precisely.
Okay. And finally, under the biological stuff, the most, profound superpower. Detection. We have to talk about a dog's nose.
Oh, this is where it really does feel like science fiction, but it's real. A dog's sense of smell is just orders of magnitude better than ours, millions of times more sensitive.
Right.
This allows them to detect things called volatile organic compounds, VOCs. These are tiny chemical signatures released by different processes in the body, including diseases like cancer.
And we have actual stories of this happening.
We do. Anecdotally, you hear these incredible stories where dogs literally save lives. Owners reporting their dogs suddenly became obsessed with a particular spot on their body, constantly pawing at it, sniffing it, licking a mole or a lump the owner hadn't even noticed.
Forcing them to go to the doctor.
Exactly. Which then leads to an early cancer diagnosis when it's most treatable.
That's just astonishing. The bond goes from just companionship to like a real-life medical diagnostic tool.
Incredible. Okay, so moving from the purely physical benefits to the mental and emotional side of things. Section 2 really tackles how pets anchor us in our social and psychological lives. We've established they reduce stress hormones, but let's talk about their role in fighting loneliness and isolation.
Yeah, and this is so important because social isolation is now recognized as a major public health crisis. It's like a silent killer, really.
Yeah.
And pets can be a crucial buffer against that.
Oh, so?
They provide this undeniable structure to your day, and they're just a steadfast, unwavering companion. They're always waiting for you, Doesn't matter how your day went.
That unconditional presence must be huge, especially for people living alone or maybe couples where partners work really different shifts.
Absolutely. You come home, the pet is there. They offer constant physical comfort, and they're great listeners, totally non-judgmental. And the sources even joke they always keep your secrets.
Nah, probably true. But that constancy, it's incredibly grounding. It fights back against that heavy feeling of being alone.
And it's not just inside the home, right? They help us connect outside, too.
Definitely. They are fantastic social catalysts.
Yeah.
Think about walking a dog. That leash is almost like a social permission slip.
How do you mean?
Well, for lots of people, especially maybe those who aren't comfortable with small talk or initiating conversations, the pet becomes the perfect icebreaker.
Ah, right.
You take your dog to the park, people stop you. Well, what kind of dog is that? How old is he? They talk about the dog, and it bypasses that awkwardness of just approaching a stranger. It helps build social networks almost without trying.
And building those networks is critical because the stats on isolation are really scary.
They are. Social isolation, loneliness. They're directly linked to a higher risk of really serious health problems. Things like type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, even addiction.
So pets actively push back against that risk by forcing interaction both with the pet itself and potentially with other people.
Exactly, which brings us right to mental health and mindfulness. Beyond just companionship, the simple act of caring for a pet gives you a sense of purpose.
Which must be incredibly important for someone struggling with, say, depression or grief.
Hugely important. You literally can't just stay in bed all day. The dog needs walking, the cat needs feeding. That responsibility is externalized. It forces structure back into what might feel like a very chaotic mental state.
That routine is grounding. You mentioned mindfulness, too. How does playing with a pet help with that?
Well, animals, they operate totally in the present moment, don't they?
Yeah, they're not worrying about yesterday or planning for next week.
Exactly. Think about a kitten completely losing its mind over a piece of string, or a dog just utterly absorbed in chewing a bone. That's pure focus. They're modeling complete presence.
Okay.
So when we play with them, or even just groom them or care for them, we're kind of forced into that here and now focus too.
Like a basic form of active mindfulness.
Precisely. And that practice is really beneficial for managing things like chronic stress, insomnia, even chronic pain, and definitely for conditions like ADHD.
The power of pets in more formal, structured therapy settings.
Yeah.
That's where the evidence gets really incredible, isn't it? The NIH-funded studies on this?
Yes, significant studies looking specifically at children facing developmental challenges. And the results are fascinating because they often compare interaction with a real animal versus some kind of substitute.
Like with the ADHD study. They compared reading to a real dog versus reading to a puppet.
Exactly. One group of kids diagnosed with ADHD read to a real trained therapy dog once a week. The control group read to realistic dog-like puppets.
Then the puppet just didn't cut it.
Nope. The children who read to the actual therapy dogs showed measurable improvements in social skills, things like more sharing, better cooperation, volunteering more. They also showed fewer overall behavioral problems compared to the puppet group.
Why do you think the real dog made such a difference?
The researchers figured the dog, being this calm, predictable, completely non-judgmental listener, created a safe space that the inanimate object just couldn't replicate.
That makes sense. And similar results with kids on the autism spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
using guinea pigs.
Yes, really powerful results there, too. When children with ASD played with guinea pigs just for 10 minutes in a supervised group setting, their measurable anxiety levels dropped significantly.
Okay, Why guinea pigs specifically? And why did that interaction work better, say, than just playing with peers in that study?
Well, the researchers suggested it's partly about sensory regulation. Guinea pigs are interactive, but they're predictable, their fur is soft, they don't make sudden loud noises. That sensory input can be very calming.
Yeah, I don't judge.
Exactly. There's no social expectation coming from the guinea pig.
Yeah.
That non-human interactions seem to act as a buffer, allowing the kids to feel calmer first. And then, because they were calmer, they actually engaged better with their peers in the group. Their social interactions improved.
So the animal offered this kind of unconditional acceptance that lowered the stress around peer interaction.
That seems to be the idea. It's fascinating.
It really is. And then there was that study about disease management, a completely different area, helping teenagers with type 1 diabetes manage their condition better by caring for a pet fish.
Yes, this is such a beautiful example of how that externalized responsibility of pet care can translate directly into self-care.
How did that work?
Well, type 1 diabetes requires really consistent, structured self-monitoring, right? Checking blood glucose levels, managing insulin. It's a lot for anyone, especially a teenager.
Definitely.
Researchers found that the simple routine of feeding the fish twice a day, checking the water levels in the tank, that structured routine seemed to transfer directly. The teens with fish became significantly more disciplined about checking their own blood glucose levels compared to teens without fish.
Wow. So the fish provided a model for routine.
It seemed to establish that necessary, life-saving routine. It proved that the commitment needed, even for a seemingly simple pet like a fish, can be a really powerful tool for self-management.
Okay, so we've built this really strong scientific case for why pets are just, well, almost indispensable for human health, well-being, even community connection.
The benefits are pretty clear.
But, and this is huge but, our sources really emphasize this, pet ownership is a two-way street. It's symbiotic. And that relationship comes with major commitments, time, money, responsibility.
Absolutely. It's not just about what the pet gives you. It's fundamentally about what you are willing and able to give the pet.
So the first step in being responsible is finding a pet that actually fits your real life, right?
Yeah.
Not just the one you picture in your head.
Exactly. Let's start with the classic loyal companion, the dog. Probably offers the highest reward in many ways, but definitely demands the highest commitment.
Okay, pros. We've covered some. Unmatched emotional support forces you to be physically active, great for active families, can be trained for specialized roles like therapy or even protection.
All true. But the cons are significant, and people need to be really honest with themselves about these. Dogs are high maintenance, period.
That 180 minutes of walking is just the start.
Right, that's just physical exercise. You've also got constant training needs, socialization, mental stimulation to prevent boredom and destructive behaviors. They are incredibly time-consuming.
Making them tough for certain lifestyles.
Definitely difficult if you travel a lot for work, if you work extremely long hours, or even if you're just consistently drained and mentally fatigued at the end of the day. A dog needs more than you might have left to give.
And the money. Financial commitment can be, well, terrifying if you're not prepared.
It really can. Beyond the routine stuff, food, vet checkups, maybe grooming, many breeds are prone to specific, expensive health issues. You absolutely need an emergency fund.
What kind of annual costs are we talking, roughly?
The sources suggest annual expenses can range pretty widely, maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a year, depending on the dog's size, breed, your standards of care. But here's the kicker. One single unexpected event, a broken leg, something they swallow needing surgery, that can easily hit $5,000, even $10,000 or more.
Oof. That's a huge potential obligation.
And real commitment means accepting that possibility upfront.
Okay, let's contrast that high commitment with the cat, the independent companion. Often seen as better for people who want companionship but maybe need less intense, constant attention.
Right. Their pros are mostly centered around being lower maintenance, relatively speaking. They largely clean themselves, they don't need walks, they're usually quiet.
Good for smaller spaces.
Exactly. Great for small homes or apartments. They can live very happily and safely, entirely indoors. That quiet companionship fits really well for many busy adults or people who prefer more solitude.
But they have their own challenges, right? They're not zero maintenance.
Definitely not. Cats can be, well, selective or even aloof with their affection sometimes. You have to accept their terms. And the litter box, that needs daily scooping. That's a significant, non-negotiable daily chore.
And potential furniture scratching. Or those lovely outdoor gifts.
Yeah, if they're not given proper scratching posts and enough mental enrichment indoors, furniture can suffer. And if you let them outdoors, you have to accept their natural predatory instinct might result in unwelcome surprises on the doorstep.
Financially, though, generally more affordable than dogs.
Typically, yes. Annual costs usually average somewhere between $800 and $1,200. The major financial risks are often less about sudden catastrophic injuries and more about managing chronic conditions as they age, like kidney or dental disease.
Okay, so dog, cat. What about people who really feel they can't commit to the energy, space, or time needed for either of those? The sources mentioned a whole diverse world of other companions, often grouped as sort of low maintenance for adults.
Yeah, and this is really about honestly matching the pet's specific needs to your genuine capacity. Ideal categories here might include adult cats who are often calmer than kittens, small caged animals, or aquarium pets and reptiles.
But the key is low maintenance for the owner often means high maintenance for the habitat, right?
That is a crucial distinction. Let's take pocket pets. Hamsters, guinea pigs, rats. They can be really interactive and fascinating to watch up close.
And they stay contained.
Right, in enclosed habitats. They're generally quiet, although maybe that hamster wheel going full tilt at 3 a.m. might challenge the quiet description for some people.
A fair point.
But crucially, they have very different social needs and lifespans. Hamsters are solitary creatures. Guinea pigs and rats, however, are highly social and must be kept in pairs or small groups of the same sex to thrive. You can't just have one.
And the lifespan issue.
That's a big one, especially with kids. Hamsters only live about 2 to 3 years. Guinea pigs, maybe 5 to 7. For children, experiencing that short life cycle can be a valuable lesson, but it also means dealing with loss quite frequently, which is a serious emotional consideration.
Okay. Then you have the visually calming options. Fish, reptiles like geckos or snakes. Great for apartments, great for people with severe allergies. They offer that calming presence, zero noise, zero odor, usually.
True. But the trade-off here is often immense difficulty and significant upfront cost in creating and maintaining the perfect environment.
So less interaction, more tech support.
Pretty much. For a reptile, say a gecko, you can't just get a tank and plop it in. You need specific temperature gradients, a warm side, a cool side, precise humidity levels, critical UVB lighting so they can metabolize calcium properly and avoid painful, crippling conditions like metabolic bone disease.
Wow, okay.
A small error in managing that habitat temperature, humidity, water quality for fish can be fatal very quickly.
Yeah.
So that precise habitat conditions warning is absolutely serious.
And finally, the really unusual pets. Snakes, lizards, ferrets, even parrots. The sources said people often choose these for, like, individuality or maybe a deep scientific fascination.
Yeah, often. And sometimes these can fit busy lifestyles because certain species require less daily hands-on affection. Like you mentioned, a snake might only eat once a week.
But the knowledge barrier must be high.
Extremely high. Specialized knowledge about diet, habitat, behavior is absolutely non-negotiable. And the warnings here are critical. Large parrots, for instance, are incredibly intelligent. They bond very deeply, but they can live for 50, 70, even 90 years or more.
Decades. That's not just a commitment.
That's potentially a multi-generational commitment. You literally have to plan for the pet potentially outliving you, put them in your will. It's a profound responsibility.
Okay, so given these enormous quantifiable health benefits pets give us, our final section really has to address the ultimate core responsibility we owe them. And that's the decision to spay or neuter. It often gets framed just as population control, which is vital.
Absolutely vital.
But the health and behavioral advantages for the individual pet itself are just massive.
They really are profound. Let's detail those health advantages first because they directly increase lifespan and quality of life. These procedures, spaying for females, neutering for males, significantly slash the risk of really serious, often fatal diseases related to the reproductive organs.
The cancer reduction stat alone seems like reason enough. Spaying a female pet drastically cuts her chances of getting mammary cancer, breast cancer.
And that disease is highly aggressive. It's fatal for about half of all dogs who get it, and for the vast majority of cats.
And the timing matters, right?
Timing is key. The biggest protective effect comes if the spay is done before the pet has her first heat cycle. That prevents the repeated hormonal surges that seem to fuel that cancer risk. It's a fundamental preventative measure that buys your female pet years of healthier life.
And for females, spaying also gets rid of the risk of pyometra entirely. We should probably explain what that is.
Yes, definitely. Pyometra is a really common, very severe, and potentially deadly infection of the uterus. Basically, the uterus fills with pus, it requires emergency surgery, it's expensive, and it can turn fatal incredibly quickly if it's not caught and treated immediately. Spaying eliminates that risk completely.
Okay. And for male pets, what are the health benefits of neutering?
Equally straightforward and important. Neutering completely prevents testicular cancer, 100%.
Okay, that's clear.
And furthermore, it significantly decreases the risk of prostate problems later in life, which can cause serious complications and discomfort. So again, it's a one-time procedure that offers decades of protection against common cancers and diseases.
So huge physical health benefits. But let's talk about behavior and just household harmony. Altering pets seems like the single easiest way to make them better, calmer family members.
Absolutely. We see a clear reduction in a lot of undesirable behaviors, especially those linked to hormones like aggression and dominance, particularly in male dogs and cats.
How does neutering help with that?
It decreases testosterone levels. Testosterone is strongly linked to dominance-related aggression, territoriality, fighting. So altered pets tend to be better behaved overall, easier to socialize with other animals and people, and frankly, much easier to train consistently.
Plus, you mentioned wanderlust earlier, that urge to roam.
Right. Unaltered pets, especially males,
Mm.
have this incredibly powerful biological drive to escape, to roam, searching for a mate. It's instinct.
Which leads to accidents.
Exactly. It hugely increases their risk of getting hit by cars, getting lost permanently, or getting into serious fights with other animals leading to injury and vet bills. Altering them largely removes that intense chemical urge to wander.
Huh.
They tend to become more content homebodies.
And let's not forget the sanitary issues inside the house.
Oh, definitely not. This greatly impacts the owner's quality of life. Unneutered male cats, and some dogs too, are driven by hormones to mark their territory. That means spraying strong-smelling urine, often inside your home.
Which is unpleasant.
Extremely. Neutering can either significantly reduce that behavior or, in many cases, eliminate it completely, which makes for a much cleaner, less stressful, more harmonious living environment for everyone.
Okay, which brings us to the really practical benefit. Eliminating heat cycles in females and preventing unplanned litters. That must be a massive relief for owners.
Huge relief. Female pets in heat can become, well, difficult. They often get restless, extremely vocal, yowling constantly, and become escape artists, desperately trying to get outside.
And for cat owners, that happens a lot, right?
It can.
Yeah.
Unspayed female cats can go into heat every 2 to 3 weeks during the main mating season, which runs from late winter through fall in many places. It's exhausting for the cat and the owner. Spaying stops those stressful, often messy, and very loud cycles entirely.
And the population control aspect. That's
Yeah.
not just about shelters. It's about responsible ownership from the start.
Absolutely. Cats, it's astonishing they can get pregnant again just 2 weeks after giving birth. Dealing with unplanned litters creates this huge, often unsustainable burden for owners emotionally and financially. And if those kittens or puppies can't be properly cared for and rehomed responsibly, they sadly end up contributing to shelter overcrowding or living shorter, less healthy lives themselves.
So it really comes down to financial foresight, too.
It does. While yes, there's an upfront cost for the spay or neuter surgery, it represents substantial long-term savings. You avoid the potentially huge costs of treating pyometra or mammary cancer down the line. You avoid vet bills from roaming-related injuries or fights. And you avoid the overwhelming financial and emotional cost of dealing with an unexpected litter. It's the absolute core tenet of responsible pet ownership and commitment.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive, it's really hammered home that pet ownership is this deeply symbiotic thing. It's measurable, it's powerful, and it goes way beyond just warm fuzzies.
Definitely beyond sentiment.
We've seen this whole spectrum of benefits, haven't we? From literally getting you those 180 minutes of life-extending exercise each week
Mm-hmm. Hitting those CDC guidelines without even trying.
to actively dropping your harmful stress hormones, your cortisol levels by like 10% just from petting them.
And then those incredible stories giving a real sense of purpose to teenagers managing a serious disease like type 1 diabetes, or acting as this amazing social buffer, totally non-judgmental, for kids with learning difficulties.
It's pretty profound.
I think the ultimate benefit, really, regardless of the species you choose, dog, cat, gecko, fish, it might be the sense of purpose and responsibility it gives us. It's like an externalized form of personal growth.
Oh, so?
Well, whether you're a child learning empathy by gently caring for a small guinea pig, or an adult meticulously maintaining that complex, precise habitat for a reptile, or someone committing literally decades of their life to a highly intelligent parrot. Pets teach us things. They teach compassion, discipline, routine, commitment.
So they give us healthier hearts, lower stress, maybe a better immune system, and we, in return, owe them very specific responsible care. And that lifetime commitment means being brutally honest with ourselves
Yeah.
about our capacity, our time, our energy, our finances.
Exactly. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We've established that the best pet isn't universal. It's the one that truly fits both your heart and your actual home, your lifestyle.
Right.
So, given that pets provide such incredibly powerful support, physical, emotional, even potentially detecting disease under our skin, does this profound bond maybe change how we define mutual dependency? Is it possible that the ultimate benefit we get from owning a pet isn't just lower blood pressure, but what the whole experience teaches us about our own capacity, our capacity for deep commitment, for self-care reflected in their care, for offering unconditional support to another living being?
Hmm. That's definitely something profound to think about, especially as you look over at your own furry or maybe scaly companion sleeping on the couch. That is all the time we have for this deep dive into the unexpected science of pet ownership.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.